Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Seeger. I'm an Associate Director in Career Services, and this is the Power of Handshake workshop. I have a co-host, our career peer mentor, Jamie McVean, is with us, and she's going to help me monitor the chat. So if you have any questions, she'll save them for a little Q&A where she may be able to address them directly as we're going through the presentation. So I want you to practice a little grace today because I'm going to reveal something to you, and maybe you're in the same boat that I am. But this is my 6.5 hour on Zoom today. So I am punchy and goofy and just a little lost. So bear with me as we go through this presentation, but we're going to get through this. So I'm just going to start with some basics about the presentation and do a screen share with you. So all right. So a couple of things, just a little housekeeping rules about our guidelines. You have to be logged in with an this is the word I can't say. You have to log in with your 2FA, okay? I cannot say authenticate, I can't say it. Zoom account to enter any path eligible Zoom room event to get your credit. Unless you're engaged in conversation with me, in terms of if I've invited you to unmute yourself and talk, you do want to stay muted throughout the presentation. And you must be logged in individually. So you can't gather multiple individuals around one computer because this isn't going to help us accurately track your participation in order for you to get your credit. And then lastly, you must be fully engaged throughout the session with your video camera on. If your video cameras are not active or you're not demonstrating behavior that indicates that you're engaged and participating, there is a chance that you will not receive that path credit, and that's what that ACE will help us monitor. All right. So today we're going to talk about a lot and move around in Handshake quite a bit. You know, one of the reasons why we decided to do this workshop is that we find that you as students, you're really good at getting into Handshake, especially when you're first engaging with our systems within that first year of school, and you're really eager to find an on-campus job, or maybe it's to schedule an appointment with a career services career advisor. But what we were discovering is that as we worked with you in career advising appointments, we were finding that there's not a lot of knowledge about what else the system can do for you. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what it doesn't do and a very limited amount of knowledge about what it does do. The other thing we wanted to bring up is we recognize that 50% of our population comes from outside of the state of Ohio. So as career services professionals, we get a lot of questions about, should I even be using Handshake if I'm from Chicago or Pittsburgh or from Long Island or upstate New York or St. Louis? So I'm going to show you some ways that you're going to be able to utilize the system that will help you get what you need for your geographic region. And we'll also show you how to find jobs, do some networking, and access some resources. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Before I do that, just one more thing. At the end of the workshop, we're going to have you do a quick survey for career services. And when I'm finished, I'll actually just put that link in the chat so that you can get into the system. It's actually 3 very easy and fast questions. Jamie, if I forget to do that, please remind me. All right, so we're going to walk through Handshake. So I'm going to navigate over to that. All right, so this is your student view, your home page for Handshake every time you log in. This is my student profile, so this is something that I use when I'm teaching and working with students. And the first thing that we want to talk about with students is, in order to get the most out of the system, you do want to ensure that your profile is updated and as complete as it can possibly be. So I'm actually going to move my little Zoom grid down. You're going to go up into the upper right-hand corner and click on your photo or your little person icon here, and you're just going to click on My Profile. All right, now you're going to see that my profile is about 50% complete. And you're going to go, well, why are you telling me mine has to be 100% complete? Well, there's a difference. If you look at my profile carefully, you're going to notice that I have actually many things filled out. I've got a profile photo uploaded, and I've got a nice heading here. I've added some information about my journey and what I'm interested in. My education section is completed, in addition to my work, and my volunteer experience is also part of my profile. I've added an organization, and some coursework for my master's degree has been put into this information. Didn't have any projects, so that might be causing my profile to be less than 100%. But honestly, if y'all don't have projects, please don't worry about it. The other thing is I've got some skills over here on the far left. I've added quite a few of my skills in to that section. And this is probably what is keeping my profile from being that full 100%, is that I don't have any documents uploaded. So one of the things that Handshake does is it allows you to upload multiple documents. You can have many versions of your resume uploaded and saved in terms of having a nice place to keep them organized. You can upload cover letters. You can also upload other types of documents such as transcripts and academic records if you're an engineering co-op and you need to upload one of those. I personally don't have a resume uploaded into documents because I use this as a teaching tool, not a job searching tool. So while I actually do have employers message me because I have an active account, I really don't want my resume in the system to be visible, but you do, whether it's an on-campus job that you're looking for, or an internship or a co-op or a full-time job. So this is probably what is keeping me from being at that 100% complete. All right, the other part of making sure that your profile and your information is complete so that the Handshake system kind of starts to do its job for you is to complete the career interest section. And I'm going to go back to my profile icon here, and I'm going to, hang on, my little Handshake grid is in the way. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, and I'm going to click on career interests. All right. So this is a short section. The system wants to know a little bit more about what your goals are with the system. So you can see that I have a number of these fields filled out. So for instance, it wants to know what job type I'm looking for. Do I want an internship, on campus, full-time? I recommend that you complete that. Wants to know how Handshake can help me and what options I'm considering after graduation. Honestly, folks, these two are a little redundant. That's just my own unedited opinion, but do fill them out, even though they're just slightly repetitive. And then it's asking me what types of job roles I'm interested in. And you can actually just put any kind of keyword in here and it'll start to pull up job titles for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I like data, so I'm going to add that marketing analyst as well. So start throwing some keywords and it'll start pulling those job roles to you. I've got where I'm interested in living, so you can put your hometown in here, or if your goal is someplace else. Right now, I'm going to keep my geographic region to Dayton and Cincinnati. And then I've got a number of industries that I have clicked off on. Now, right now, kind of in a COVID-19 situation that we're in, there are some industries that are probably not doing as well as other industries because of the pandemic. So I'm going to advise you, do click off on what some of your goals are and what your desires are, but kind of be aware that you may be clicking off on some industries that aren't doing so well until we get into a post-COVID world. So for instance, hospitality is not doing too well. Healthcare is doing extremely well. And the other one that's really struggling right now is arts, entertainment, and recreation to a certain extent. So post-COVID, start clicking on those if those are driving your interest, but kind of be aware of what's happening in terms of the economy and the job world right now. And then you want to click off on a number of job functions. And again, you might still be discerning and exploring your career goals, experiment with things. That's perfectly okay as you're working with this. When you're finished, down here on the bottom, you're going to do Save My Career Interests. And now the system is actually going to start to do a little bit of work for you when you go back to your home page. The reason why I bring up career interests, say you just looked at this short page and you don't want to fill out all the information. The three areas that employers pay the most attention to is the job type up at the top, the location, where it is that you want to be working, and the job role. So those are the three things that recruiters look for when they start searching for candidates. If these three areas are filled out for you, you're going to start to get more relevant job recommendations from the Handshake system. In addition, about 80% of our students who share their interests on Handshake have a tendency to receive more messages from employers and recruiters because they can actually see that information. All right, so if we go back home from all this information, you're going to start to see, if you scroll down. So now I'm actually pulling a sales account manager because I added that marketing in, and I've got some management and sales training that has come up as well. It's also taking a look at some of the on-campus jobs that I might be interested in. In addition, it's looking at my activity, and it's pulling up some employers for me to follow because it's been paying attention to what I've been looking at. And then some other suggestions for resources, just to kind of help you tap into what we're doing in career services and what we are bringing forward to bring to your attention and saying, hey, you might want to look at this resource, and things that are popular for my major. So before you jump into other areas of Handshake, each time you log in, scroll down and see what the system is starting to pull to you. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is how to create a job alert. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go to the Jobs tab. Okay, and we're going to put some criteria in for looking for some positions. Sometimes the criteria is hard to see, so it's kind of up here at the top. So I'm going to select my location. I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati. And I think I'm cheating. I've got some criteria written down here. I'm going to go with internship this time. And I'm going to go ahead, and in terms of my keywords, I'm going to go ahead and put in human resources. Okay. All right. So today, it's found 9 jobs and internships in the Cincinnati region. So they're going to come up here on your left-hand side. And I'm thinking, that's pretty good. It's January. Employers are just starting to post internship positions for the summer. So I think I would like to save this search. So down here, just in this blue, you're going to click on Save Your Search. Okay, little green indication down at the bottom that I've created a job alert for myself. Now here's the thing with Handshake. If I had not put that keyword of human resources into this search field, it would have just named the search on its own and not taken any feedback from me. So I've decided, you know what, I want to make sure that I have got this job alert named and saved the way I want it to be saved. So you can edit your notifications here, and it'll pull up this little window. It'll tell me what it's named it. You know what? Handshake did a good job. I like this human resources internships in Cincinnati. And how do I want to be notified that if anything new hits the system and matches this requirement? It defaults to all of this information. So I'm going to stick with I want to get an email notification, and I want to get an in-app notification. And what in-app means is that I literally have to log into Handshake to actually see that I've got a new notification. And then there's push mobile. You can download the Handshake app to your phone if you prefer to get all your notifications on your phone. I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm actually just going to take push off mobile because I'm busy enough in my email that I'll see the notification. But I'm going to keep it to weekly. I don't want things coming in daily, so we default to this weekly, and I'm going to save this. All right, then it lets me know it's updated my search criteria. And now I've actually created a job alert for myself, and I've done a little bit of editing so that it sort of meets my needs. So I'm going to go back home. Now I'm going to talk about notifications quite a bit here in just a few minutes. But if you're curious, your notifications are actually up here on your little profile picture. You can tell that I only have 2 notifications right now because frankly, when I was updating this presentation, I cleaned them up a bit. So I got rid of some of them, but you can see that I've got 2 notifications going on right now. Any questions so far?
We don't have any questions in the chat right now, so feel free to go ahead, Liz.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is, you know, when we talk about job search, we are all about you have to start networking. And one of the ways that you can start your networking endeavors in your career, so to speak, is to start engaging with Handshake and being connected to employers. So the way to engage with employers just a little bit more often and to stand out, we get this question a lot, especially since the pandemic. We're living in a virtual world, so I get questions from students quite a bit about how do I stand out virtually? Well, engaging with your Handshake profile will be one of those ways that you can engage just a little bit more. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to go back to your profile for a second. So in order for you to engage with employers just a little bit more, you have to make sure that your profile is visible. So you can see over here on the left in the green, I have this set to my profile being visible really to just about everyone. Employers, students, and alumni across all the Handshake universities are able to see my profile. So you might be looking at this, you may not be visible right now and you want to update this. Handshake makes this easy because you can change it anytime by going to the settings here in blue. And when you get to this page, you have to scroll down because you're looking for your privacy settings. So my community setting is checked. Handshake recommends this because, as I mentioned before, everyone across the platform can see your profile. This might be a little too much for you at the moment. So you might decide, you know what? I just want employers to be able to see my profile. So I'm going to go ahead and just click off on employers instead of that community. Okay, if you go private, you'll only be able to apply for jobs, but you won't get contacted by any employers. So for now, I'm going to go back to community because I have lots of things to show you. For this particular setting, make sure you scroll to the bottom and save your updates. All right. So I'm going to review 3 reasons why we recommend that you select that community setting. So if you're visible to employers, once again, they're going to be able to search on your profile. They'll even be able to message you regarding job postings or even invite you to various events that they might be hosting. So this increases your engagement and your networking with our employers. The other thing is networking isn't just limited to employers. You may want to do a little bit of networking with both your fellow students or even some alumni or students from other universities. So you need that community setting so that you can network with students and other students can network with you. The third reason is the most important reason, and this we probably get this question the most in terms of why should I use Handshake if I'm from St. Louis or Chicago? Is it really going to help me? Aren't all the jobs here in Dayton and potentially Cincinnati? Well, actually, no. You want this to have a broader reach in terms of your job search. There are over 900 universities that use the Handshake platform out of career services offices. So when employers are posting jobs, so if a Chicago employer who is working with, say, DePaul University, is posting a position in Handshake, a window is going to pop up and ask them, here are all the other Handshake schools. Do you want to post this position with all of these schools? Now, what a lot of employers will do is they'll kind of do it regionally, but also many employers, especially on the East and West Coast, they'll just pick all the Handshake schools. So if they do that, it means that you have access to these job postings because they're coming nationally from all over the country. So geographically, that gives you just a little bit more reach and it does increase your visibility. All right. The next way to engage with employers is to follow employers. If some of you are already on LinkedIn, also other social media, Twitter and Instagram and that type of thing, you know that you have the ability to follow people that you're interested in following. And so we use the same way in Handshake. So if you click on employers, you can see that I've actually got a number of employers that I'm already currently following. So I've been kind of running around in the system just a little bit and looking at some things that kind of interest me. Okay. But you can also identify other employers and do some searching. So you can pull some new employers into the system. So I'm going to actually click off for the moment the employers that I'm following. And I've decided that I'm really interested in working at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati. So I'm going to see if I can pull them up. Oops. Be nice if I could spell. I told you 6 hours on Zoom. Okay. There they are. Okay, so here's Procter & Gamble, and I'm really interested in following them. So I'm going to go ahead and star them. Okay. And now I'm following Procter & Gamble. So now I can kind of move in and out of the system a little bit, and they're going to come up on my feed as the first thing that I'm following. Okay. So 2 reasons why you want to follow employers. If you're following them and you set up your notifications in a certain way with these employers, you're going to know when they've posted positions and get notifications when they've done so. So now I'll get notifications that Procter & Gamble has actually posted a couple of positions. It will also let me know when they've posted events and that type of thing. And sometimes employers are aware that we've put them on our following list, and that may ping them to message us because we're showing our interest. It also, if you're interested in these employers, this is just a really quick way to dive into the information. If I want to do some really quick research on Procter & Gamble, I've got them on my top bar, and I'm able to access that information pretty quickly. Okay. So that's one way to engage with our employers. We'll talk a little bit more about researching and that type of thing, but I just want to do a quick check-in with Jamie and see if we have any questions before I switch into notifications.
No, we don't have any questions, but I did just put a message in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in there. Or if you're uncomfortable, you can also message me privately.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay. So I've been talking a lot about notifications and how to make the system work for you. So I'm going to go back to our home page, and the way that you can manage your notifications is, again, click on your profile picture and go to notifications. So 2 things, it's going to bring up the 2 notifications that I have in my bubble right now, which is I've saved a job alert, and I've got 4 new jobs that have just been added to another search that I just implemented. But what you want to do is you want to edit your notifications. So you're going to come here to edit notification preferences. And I hate to say this, but this is a lot of information in terms of what it is that you want to be editing. So I just want to scroll through this and talk to you just in general about some good things to pay attention to as you manage your notifications. So we're going to scroll down. Events is probably the first one. You want to click off on I'm invited to an event, or an employer is hosting event. I think that those are some of the 2 best ones in events. And remember, if it's blue, it means that it's clicked off. If not, we'll do email notification there. I'm actually going to unclick that because I'm going to get a bazillion email, and I don't want to do that. If it's blank, it means that that is not available. So an event that I've joined has been updated will not push to the mobile app because that's not an option. So those are the 2 areas in events that I really like, which is I've been invited to an event and an employer is hosting an event, are the best ones to kind of get your attention as you're following your employers. Interview schedules, as you start to engage a little bit more with the system, Your job search is becoming a little bit more active. When you are doing on-campus interviewing, it's a really good idea to set your notifications about your interview schedule. So if something, you get an interview time slot, the schedule changes, something needs to be altered, you'll get that notification right away that something has changed in terms of that interview schedule. And then, of course, jobs. This is another important one. If an employer edits a job, you may just want to know if they've made a couple of changes, but most important is this guy here that the employer has posted a job. So I'm following Procter & Gamble right now. If they post a position, because I've got my email clicked off that an employer posted a new job, I'm going to get a notification in my UD email that they've posted a position, and that's going to ping me to go ahead and take a look at it. The next one is career fairs. So if you're going to engage with our career fair, again, if you're following employers, you might want to know, oh, an employer that I'm following has registered for the career fair. Yep, I want a notification. Now, this one I kept into my little notifications up here, but still, it's good to know, especially if you're planning on coming to the career fair, that you're getting some notifications that your employers are of interest are starting to become active in the system. And then lastly is messages. And if you're sent a new message and you want to get an email notification, I think this is, if you have the app, a good place to do that mobile push as well. So we're going to talk about messaging in a minute in terms of employers being able to message you, but also having your fellow students be able to message you as well. So I think that that's the last one in that notification section that's really good to manage. And remember, you can change this at any time. You feel like you're getting too many emails, go in and manage just a little bit more to make sure that things are under control. All right, now I'm going to talk about managing your messages. So you can see you've actually got a tab here for getting directly into your message screen. And I've got 44 right now. I kind of tried to leave them alone for this, but you're going to get a lot of, if you're in that community setting, you're going to get a lot of different types of messages. You'll get them from fellow students. You'll get them from employers. You'll get them from people attending the career fair. So there's a lot of different things that are going to come into this system. So you can see, right now on the left side, I've got Jennifer from Equitable Advisors. She has sent me a message and she is inviting me to an event. So I just clicked on that and it opened it up, and she wants me to come to a virtual career seminar. I have to make a reservation. Now, yes, this was December 8th, but I left it alone for demonstration purposes. And really she gave me a link. All I have to do is click to join the meeting and again, same thing. Here's a link for the RSVP. And it looks like she's got some additional information. And she's actually been sending quite a few messages, but that's okay. Okay. If I scroll down, you can also say no thanks if you don't want to go to this event, which is kind of nice. Okay. Here's Robert. He's actually encouraging me to apply. So while Jennifer was inviting me to an event, Robert was communicating with me back in November, but wanted to see if I was interested in leadership opportunities with Uncommon Schools. Uncommon Schools is a charter school system. They like people who have experience and from a variety of different backgrounds. You don't have to be teacher education to work in this environment. So this is probably why he's reaching out to me to see if I'm interested. And he's got a job posting that I can see, and I can actually apply to the job, or I can just say no thanks if I want him to not message me so much. You can type a message back to employers. I have to move you guys here. I keep moving you around on my screen so I can see what I'm doing. But you can see here, if I want to talk to Robert, if I just click in this type of message here at the bottom, I can go ahead and send him, a message, let him know I'm not interested, that type of thing. and then just hit the send button. Now he may respond to me and we may go back and forth with our information a little bit, but you do have the ability from these screens to respond to employers and students and go back and forth. Now I'm not going to send that because I'm not applying for a job with Uncommon Schools. So I'm just going to get rid of that. The send button goes away and we're all safe, and I didn't send anything that I really wasn't supposed to send. Okay. So that's managing your messaging from the employer standpoint. A couple of things I want to share with you about messaging that I would like you to keep in mind. Your privacy settings have to be on community or employer in order for this to start populating with employer messages. If the employer has a trust, we call this a trust score of 80% or higher, they have the ability to message students with community and employer privacy settings. What a trust score is a score that's assigned to the employer by career services teams and handshake teams. And what we've done is we've done a little research on the company, and at a glance, we know that from their general activity in handshake and their reputation as an employer, they have a good trust score. But if it's below 80, you won't get messages from employers who have less than 80, because we consider that to be maybe not the best employer that we want communicating with our students. And I'm going to be honest with you, there aren't a ton of employers in the system that have a trust score that's below 80. So it's not like employers are being shut out of having an opportunity to communicate with you. Most of them do quite well and are above that score of 80, but that's something that protects you from fraudulent employment opportunities. And yes, these systems do occasionally get hacked, and it does happen. So it's just something that you have to be aware of. When we talk about fraudulent employment situations, the first thing we tell all of you as students is, if you are communicating with an employer and the opportunity sounds way too good to be true, it probably is. And that's a sign for you to reach out to us in career services and say, I think I've got something suspicious, because we will research it and determine whether it's suspicious or not. So again, if it's too good to be true, your gut says something's not right, most definitely let us know that something is not quite on the up and up. All right, the next thing I want to show you, and I get this question a lot from students, which is I really want to find contact information for recruiters, for hiring managers when it comes to employers. So there's a way that you can unearth this information. You can do it from the job screen and then click on employers here. You can also do it from the home page and just go right into that employer tile. Okay, so I'm going to start with the employers that I'm following because it's a little easier to access. And I'm going to look at this Randstad. I'm going to look them up. All right, so you get a little company profile. Over here on the right, here is your contact information. And we noticed that a phone number has been posted for the company, but here's an email address. So Kim Davis from Randstad has decided that she's willing to make her contact information visible to students. So you would be able to capture this email address and go ahead and send her messages. You could even click on this link and send her a message if you like. Keep in mind that some employers will opt to have their contact information be visible, but some will not. It's probably because they get a lot of emails. They need to kind of manage the traffic coming in and out of those systems. So if you get into Handshake, you look up the employer, you notice here in the contact information that it's a general email address and a website and a phone number, but you can't get to an actual name. It means that they probably did that intentionally. But what I would suggest is option number 2 is move into your LinkedIn profile, look up the company in LinkedIn, click on the employer tab, and a number of employers will come up, or employees will come up, and you're most likely looking for heads of departments and human resources and recruiters. And that's an optional way, an additional way that you can reach out. and contact employers. So sometimes this information is available to you, but sometimes it's not. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is how to research company culture, because while the internet, the world is your oyster, you have lots of information available to you. Handshake is really a strong tool for doing company research and even researching company culture. So first thing you're going to do is you're just going to start looking up employers and looking at their profiles, which is what we're currently doing here with Randstad. We've got them pulled up. We're looking at their company profile here. They gave us a little bit of information. Looks like they're an incredibly large company. They have 25,000 or more employers. And you also have information on students who have worked there. So a couple of things. There's 2 reviews. And what I like about this research information is it's very quick. 3 questions: what I liked, what I wish was different, and any general advice to fellow students. And if you found that this was helpful, you could give it a little thumbs up and tell it, yay, this was helpful. This was a person who worked in their factory environment. This is a marketing intern. Ask the same questions, but a little bit of a different job. So as you read reviews from your fellow students, this gives you a sense of, is this a good company for me to do an internship or get a full-time job with or not? The other thing that you can look at, I'm going to go back to the overview, is we have a number of students who have worked for this company. So if the profile comes up, if the student has that blue message bubble, it means that you can message Molly and ask her about her experience. The nice thing about Handshake is it gives you a number of pre-written emails based on what you're interested in. And you can see from all the way from professional experience to reviews and Q&A or interview advice. You can click on any one of these and get some feedback from Molly. So let's just go with basic resume advice. And you can see my canned message. It pulls in information from my profile, and it basically says I came across your profile and saw your experience with the company in, or a skill set I thought you might be able to help me with, a resume review, that type of thing. Now, this is okay in terms of a message, but I also recommend that you do just a little bit of personalization. So I'm just going to be silly and change this, but all you have to do is click in the box and it'll let you do some editing. So I go by Liz, but I'm going to be sneaky and put in Elizabeth. And then you're just going to send this information on its way with the send button. Okay. I'm not sure why it is not letting me. Oh, because I have to clear everything out. Hello. Well, okay. Now the send button works. Okay. Practice grace. Remember, folks, lots of time in Zoom today. I am not going to send this message to Molly just because she's going to be like, who is this person sending me a message that just says hello? Okay. So we're going to close that. Okay. But some excellent advice is available to you from students who have worked at these organizations. You can also click on the student's profile. Sometimes this is just really helpful. Do they have the same skill set that I have? What school are they from? Are my skills comparable? Is this someone maybe that I want to connect with on LinkedIn? But you can also look at others' profiles if they've got that community setting on. All right, let me look at this for a second and make sure that I have everything that you need. Okay, if you're just doing some general research, I'm actually just going to go back to jobs and to employers. Okay, in my search criteria here under categories, I just want employers who have reviews. Okay, so if we scroll through, you know, you can see that these are a little low. 1, 3, 2. Here's 25. Ooh, let's see what's up at Stanford University. So sometimes it's nice to look at a number of reviews because, again, it gives you a sense of company culture. So here's a research assistant, a sport nutrition intern, an RA, oh, lots of RAs, another research assistant, lots of research going on, orientation coordinator. Okay, so it's kind of the task of doing your research and aggregating some information. Okay, before I go on to insider tips on company interview processes, do we have any questions?
We have two questions in the chat. The first question that we have says, for messages encouraging us to apply for a job, how personalized are they? This person is asking if they actually looked through their profile and thought they were a good fit, or does it just select someone based off the criteria like an algorithm and send a mass message?
So that's an excellent question. My answer, I think, lands somewhere in the middle. I think there's some algorithm use going on initially, and then an actual human, the recruiter, comes in and starts looking through the profiles that search and that algorithm has pulled you all to, and then they start narrowing down that process and deciding who it is that they want to send a message to. So I think it's a little bit of a blend of search criteria, algorithm dependent, and then an actual real life person coming in and making some decisions. There are some industries where they're just relying on the algorithm. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So they cast a really wide net. Financial advising that is very sales oriented has a tendency to do this because they have to interview a lot of people to find the right person for that type of position, because most people are like, I want to do sales, but I'm a little afraid of financial advising. Don't tell anybody I said that. There's 300 of you in the room. But do you know what I mean? It's one of those industries where it's a good industry. It'll be good to you. You love it and you love hardcore cold calling sales. And there are people out there who do really well with it, but they cast a really wide net. So if you find yourself getting frustrated that why am I being messaged by this employer and it looks like they're not paying attention to my profile? There is a possibility that they're not, but I do advise you at least skim every message that you get, because there could be something in there that very much is in alignment with your interests.
The next question we have is from a transfer student, and they're asking that if they are coming from another institution that used Handshake and now they're here, should they delete their other profile and only use their one from UD?
Oh my gosh, that is a Susan Lucking question. um, I am very cautious at this stage in the game to tell you to delete your profile from your previous institution. But my advice is you're going to reach out to Jamie and mine's colleague, Susan Lucking. Susan works in career services. She's our data specialist. She understands the student side of Handshake, especially when you have two .edu email addresses because you are a transfer student. And she's going to help you navigate how do we get really, I think what's ideal is the first profile, make changes to it to represent UD and get the email address changed and get you access. So I'm going to go ahead and put, folks, bear with me. I'm going to put Susan's email address in the chat. Now, don't all email her because she'll freak out on me. So, all right, where did the chat function go, folks?
I don't think you'll be able to see if you're sharing a screen. I can put Susan Lucking's email in there.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
And then we have one more question about location during your job search. They're asking that if you live in a suburb, should you put the suburb in your location where you're looking for jobs, or the closest big city? So an example would be, if you live in Naperville, should you put Chicago?
I would put Chicago.
I would too, because I think it broadens your job search a little bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't mean that you won't pull jobs for Naperville if you want a little bit of a shorter commute, but at the same time, let's kind of cover all of the Chicago region. So,
Okay,
All right.
that's all the questions we have, but just a reminder that if anyone else has a question, feel free to put it in the chat or message me privately.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to look at insider tips on interviewing with a particular company. So to do this, you're going to go back to your employers. Now, you can search for employers here on the left-hand side for your search criteria. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to look at my employer who I'm following, who is Procter & Gamble, because I looked ahead and I know that they have lots of reviews. Go. Oh, and Handshake is must be tired. It's at the end of the day. There we go. Okay. All right, so you have a tab here. So we have 40 students who have weighed in on interviewing. And again, this is kind of nice because it's 2 really quick questions. What was the process like? What's one question you were asked? Now, there's a sneaky reason why I picked Procter & Gamble. Jamie did this in our workshop yesterday with Target because they had lots of reviews and lots of interview questions, and that was very strategic. But if you scroll through a number of these reviews, you could end up with a handful of interview questions that you can practice off of. So here's one that is about working in teams. Here's another one, working in wow, teamwork is really important. Working in teams again. Decision making. Give me a time when you had to make a decision when you didn't have all the facts. Tell me about a time when you created a new process that was impactful. So this is an amazing way for you to get some insight about the interview process and the types of questions that you're being asked so that you can do some preparation ahead of time. This is probably one of my favorite tools within the system because it can pull a lot of really good information to you. All right, I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to talk about networking with your fellow students. About a year or 2 ago, Handshake started to do a lot of focus groups with students and it discovered that from a student perspective, networking with your peers is actually a very powerful way for you to gain information. You trust each other in terms of the information. So they call it peer-to-peer learning. And that's where that community setting and showing you students who have worked for certain employers have come up. So it's a really, really nice way for you to connect. But in order for you to connect with the community, you want to go right to it. It's here up on the left-hand side on your menu. If you just click on students. And just like everything else, it's going to give you some search criteria. So I'm actually going to just stick in with the family, the UD family. And I'm actually going to pick someone who matches my major. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add psychology. Okay, so Karina came up first. And you notice, it's got her basic information and she's got the message bubble here. So that means that Karina has made herself available for fellow students to reach out and have a conversation with her. So just like the message bubbles that you see on the employer profiles, the same type of criteria comes up and you have your categories that you can talk to Karina about. You can also do any other career topic, clear it out and write your own message, just like we did before, and then send that message out to her. Okay. And hopefully Karina will respond to you. Again, I'm not going to send it because she's going to be like, what are you doing? Okay. So lots of ways for you to search on students and be able to tailor and adjust messages or get started on the language if you don't have sort of a place to start. All right, now when it comes to responding to messages, you're going to go over here to your messages. I've got 42 right now. We've already been in this a little bit. And we talked about this when we did employers. It looks the exact same way if you've got a fellow student who is messaging you. The reason why I pull this up again in this space is I just want to show you really quick. If there's something, say you're getting messaged from a student or even an employer and you're thinking, I don't, either something inappropriate is happening or you're thinking, I don't really want to communicate with this person. I don't want to not change my setting from community to private. But what you can do is, it's a little hard to see, but way up here in the corner for Caitlin's message, you've got those 3 dots. If you pull down, you can report this message as it's not quite being appropriate. So you could say this employer appears to be fake or fraudulent. If this were a student message, you could say that this email is inappropriate or this employer is spamming me, and then go ahead and submit it. It won't let me submit unless I actually click off on something. Okay. So that's a good question. Sorry, employer. All right, so that's one way to manage your messages. It looks the same as the employer message feature. But if you've got something going on that's not quite working for you, you can use those 3 dots. All right, the very last thing I want to show you is our resources. There are a tremendous amount of resources that have been created by Career Services staff members that are available to you. So if you go over to Career Center, okay, first, just shameless plug, this is how you schedule an appointment with a career mentor for drop-ins or with a career advisor for a 1-hour appointment. But here in your resources section, you're going to click on resources. And we call these articles. And I'm just going to put in a keyword. I'm interested in companies with leadership development programs. So I'm going to click on that first article that came up. This is just a photo of Lisa Witt. She's our liaison to engineering and computer science. And she just gives you some basic information about what are leadership development programs. What are they? What are the benefits? Who's a good fit? Qualifications. I always recommend always look over to the left because there could be some attachments. If I click on this attachment, it's actually going to pull up a list of companies who offer leadership development programs. So many different types of resources that you can access. Interview skills, writing your resume, doing an international job search. Here's some information for veterans. Using our resource Going Global, which lets you research companies in different geographic regions. How to be successful in the workplace and having difficult conversations. So these things have attachments and videos and all kinds of resources attached to them for you to dig just a little bit further. So go in and play with this section because it'll pull up a lot of neat information for you. All right, any other questions?
We have 2 final questions in the chat. The first one asks if Handshake has a feature to narrow down the type of jobs and if you can filter out jobs you're uninterested in. I answered this question privately and told them that filling out career interests is a great start. And also Handshake does have an algorithm that will show you jobs based on your activity and what's popular within your major. But Liz, if you want to elaborate on that anymore.
No, I actually think that you did a very good job. To be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I swear that there was a feature that if you pulled up a job, let me just try this. There's that transportation planner. Apply. Follow. Bear with me. I thought that there was a feature that said, I don't like this. that you had the ability to say, no, stop pulling this information to me. But I think that's LinkedIn that does that.
And then we have one final question. I know you just brushed over this briefly, but if a student is looking for a job overseas, maybe something like a nonprofit, does Handshake normally show those opportunities?
They may, if the company is located here in the US and is posting positions overseas. But because Handshake, it's not a product or a platform that's being used overseas. So universities aren't using Handshake in other countries right now. That Going Global resource that I mentioned under resources, that actually is an international job search site, and it's got a city guide for international job searching and doing research on industries and companies and that type of thing. Other cities. Can you mute yourself, please? Okay, thank you. All right, so this job and internship search for international student tools, this Going Global, can actually pull a lot of international jobs to you. All right.
That's all we have. I just want to remind everyone that drop-in hours with the Career Peer Mentors are hosted Monday through Friday from 12:15 to 3 p.m., where myself and my coworkers are in a Zoom room and we can help you on career-related matters such as resume review, cover letter writing, and LinkedIn assistance.
Thank you, Jamie. I am putting the survey link in the chat. It's just 3 easy questions. And if you'll do that for us, we would very much appreciate it. And that is all I have today. We'll hang out for a minute or two. When you're done with the survey, you are free to go. If you have any questions for Jamie and I, we'll hang out for about 5 minutes or so until everyone clears out. But have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you so much. You were great.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.